And it's been incredibly random. It just kind of happened. Just the way agriculture and cities and suburbs and strip malls and capitalism fueling like the same chain kind of stores everywhere. I know when I was a kid, I used to go traveling a lot, and I would go with my family like to Colorado or California or North Carolina. And it didn't matter where you went. It was all the places were super different. They had different stores, different restaurants, different architecture, everything was just different. Like you'd go to a new city and it was like so cool to go and see and experience somewhere new. And in my short lifetime here on this planet, I have seen that radically change, because now it doesn't matter where you go, it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same. And it's kind of like a monoculture. Like when we think about monoculture, usually we think about just one big field of one type of crop. But monoculture just means one culture. And it kind of seems like that's, again, randomly. I don't think there was some like Montgomery Burns sitting in some high office saying, yes, let's monoculture the world. It just kind of happened. And here we are, and we could just keep zipping through life and just accepting how things unfold around us, like how as neurotoxic chemicals get sprayed and put into our food, or as chlorine and fluoride are like by law put in our water. I don't really like to talk so much about doom and gloom. Let's give it up for my friend Federico Gutierrez right there, you guys. That is a legend right there. Yeah. There's a tree planting at 2:00 every day. Federico takes whole crews out there to plant trees, and I'm so grateful. Yeah, we planted all these trees, all these beach almonds we planted here. Yeah, I met Federico after I was a talk on the Village stage 10 years ago. He came running to me, man, Steve, I want to support what you guys are doing here. I'm in, man. You just tell me. And and he runs Envision's nonprofit now, and I love you. So just watching things unfold, we could sit back and endure it. It's like we could find joy, and we could we can navigate the way things are. We can navigate the world as it is, and it's okay, right? In many ways it's amazing, but in many ways it's really messed up. And I'm not one to spend too much energy talking about doom and gloom, because I'm so positive, and I don't really like, I try to stay away from the news and stuff. But I recently spent, I met and then invited to South Africa with Zach Bush. Do you guys know who Zach Bush is? Anyone know who he is? Yeah. So he invited me to come on this trip to South Africa. We spoke at a thing in Mexico together, and he's like, you gotta be at this trip we're doing. And he, I often feel like I'm the most macro thinker in the room. I often feel that. Like, I want to dedicate my life to creating new villages and towns. Like, that might sound so crazy. Like, wow, who starts villages and towns, And so I'm often like the macro guy in the room where people think I'm nuts. And then there I was sitting with Zach Bush, and he started talking about his visions, and it was like, yeah, we need to reforest sub-Saharan Africa. We need, and he's a doctor that was studying gut biome and seeing that on a planetary level, and as grand and as great as it is to think about trying to fix and heal this world, it feels so overwhelming. It feels like, what the hell can I do about it? Like, if I bring a cloth bag to the grocery store, is that going to help the polar bears? It's like everything, we started hearing about climate change and Al Gore and we started hearing about it, wow, this is real. Yet I'm just one person, and I feel so incredibly small. I can't really do anything about it because I'm just one person. So I'm just gonna keep going with this way, you know, and I think, you know, I'm gonna tell you guys a story that I love, that I heard the first time I came to Costa Rica. Hey, human, is it okay if we talk about sex here on the stage? Oh, okay, cool. I just want to make sure. Do you guys, everybody here knows how babies are made? Everybody knows how? What? Sex. So the babies, I mean, there's the sex happens, but what like in science, like what's really happening? There's, what's that? Yeah, the plant the seed. So the sperm and the egg, and it's so interesting. We say the sperm, but it's actually somewhere between 5 and 20 million sperm. Did you guys know that? Between 5 and 20 million sperm get shot up in there, and they're swimming like with their little tails. All 5 to 20 million of them, and how many of those sperm actually make it to the egg? Just one, right? And who's that? I want everybody to stand up and give yourself a big round of applause for being the sperm that made it. Everybody. You are the sperm that made it. You are between 1 in 5 to 20 million the second you're born. That is incredible. So the minute you think what you do doesn't matter, the minute you think that I'm so small I can't do anything about it, you are between 5 and 20 million the second you're born. So don't think that anymore, that you don't matter, because you really do. Now what we find at Envision, so I was here in the beginning of January. Site ops had just started here in December. And since we had 2 years off with Envision, pretty much everything was rotted. Like all the bamboo, like, you know, some of the stuff we could use every year, but a lot of it, like some of it we'd have to improve. This time we had to do everything from scratch here. And so just imagine 2.5 months ago, nothing was here. Look around, you guys. Look at this village that we've just co-created. And it's not, you know, people like look to the founders, oh, great job, or to the stage builders, or to the DJs, or like every single one of you are making what this experience is. And I really want to appreciate every one of you. Don't think that you're just an attendee. You are Envision. We are Envision, and we are envisioning a new world. And that's been the goal here, is how can we create experiences that crack us? Raise your hand if you're being cracked this week. Really, like, now let's just take a moment and think, what is it that's cracking me? Like, what is it about Envision that's really cracking me to what? Like, what's happening to me right now? What am I feeling? You know, is it the MDMA? Is it the, you know, all the beautiful people? Is it the sunset that we get to celebrate every day together? Is it, what is it? And what I think it is that, like, we're all buzzing on a frequency, you know. And my really dear friend Zach Zeidman once said to me, you know, I had a really, really, really strong, powerful mushroom trip in 1995, where I watched a playground full of indigenous children get sprayed by a Chiquita banana crop duster, and it totally rocked my world. Like, it totally, I literally was like, emergency brake on my life. Like, how could this be happening? How can we be treating these indigenous people, these people that have literally treated the earth like an extension of their bodies for centuries, and we're spraying them with neurotoxic chemicals so that our bananas can get shipped away and they don't have any marks on them? Or, I mean, come on, is this really the best we could do? Is this really the best we could design? So I was there, and, you know, I'm recently out of the psychedelic closet. Can anyone relate to that? Like, psychedelics was this thing that we didn't really talk about. You know, I always told my story about my awakening here in Costa Rica with the banana plantations and everything, but I always left out the rare Chinese mushroom that some dude from New Orleans gave me at Jim Morrison's grave in Paris. The few months before. He was like a mycologist and gave me this rare mushroom. And it tapped me into what was happening there so deep, and I felt so sick about what was happening there. And I literally, on that mushroom, I got a glimpse of how it could be, you know. And I'm sure you guys can relate to this. I literally saw just the rolling hills of fruit trees and the beautiful paths leading from my house to my best friend's house, to my children's school, to my older parents and the community of elders that they're supported by. And just and it just was like a flash, and it was so simple. And I started thinking, wow, we need to create urban centers. We need to create rural communities, agriculture. We need to create caravans connecting them, and boats moving the stuff. We need to bring the dried mango north, you know, and the smoked salmon south. And we need to, you know, it was just like so vividly clear. Has anyone ever seen any of that? Any of that vision? Yeah. So my friend Zach, I was sitting with, I was telling him, I remember I was sitting in Punta Mona. It was like really when I first met him, and I was saying, hey, you know, Zach, I'm seeing some really powerful things, man. In the cities, we're gonna create these oases. And I just started giving him the whole download, and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, Stephen, you are not alone, brother. There's so many of us. There's so many of us seeing the same movie, but just different parts and in different focus. And just keep seeing your part, and let's, you know, co-create this fabric of what we're all seeing. And now if you try to figure out, like, if you have kids and you have like this vision for their school, probably won't be able to do it because you're busy like with your job, and you're just gonna find the best option in your area. But all of a sudden, if there's like 30, you and 30 of your friends, and you all have kids, and you all wanna create a different kind of school, you can really do that. You know, you can really co-create what it is you want, you know, collectively, and it becomes so much easier. So after that whole banana plantation experience, I knew that I wanted to dedicate my life to figuring out another way to do things. You know, I wasn't sure what. I was a radical Deadhead, Grateful Dead, radical. I was obsessed. I moved to Costa Rica on August 10th, 1995, the day after Jerry Garcia died, just ironically, after doing the entire summer tour, 30-something shows in a row. But the Grateful Dead was really powerful because it was really my first taste of community. A lot of people get their first taste of community right here at Envision, you know, where you're surrounded by just like-minded people. Raise your hand if this is like the real, like where you first had your just delicious taste of what it feels like to be surrounded by people that support you. Don't you feel like if you were down and you felt shitty and you needed something, don't you feel like right now you could go up to almost anyone? Like, look around the room, look around this little, the people that are here right now. Don't you almost feel like you can, if you had to, like you could go and share your heart and your soul with any of these people? I often say, let's try to wake up each day and be the nicest we've ever been. You know, imagine a world where everyone's just striving to be the nicest you've ever been. Let's, all of you that are here with me, you could never just put up your hand if you're with me for today. Just for today, let's all be the nicest we've ever been. Let's just spread love and joy. Let's do it. Like, it's radical. It's radical and it's revolutionary. We're programmed to be like internal. We're programmed to look forward. We're not it's like we come from a reality where that's where they're programming, you know, to not do that. But while we're here, let's really dive into that and really just, and it spirals and everybody starts to shine. It's contagious. It's so incredible. So I'm excited about that. So after the whole banana, so I knew I wanted to do something about what I witnessed. And so the first thing I did was I started bringing high school and college students from the States and Canada and Europe and some of Costa Rica down to Costa Rica to show how beautiful and magical Costa Rica is. But I wanted to show the reality of the rainforest destruction that's happening here, the reality of the indigenous cultural, you know, the indigenous cultures being decimated, And I also wanted to show the multinational industrial agriculture that was just destroying all harmony. I wanted to show all these things, but then I wanted to show solutions. And so I met an old Caribbean man named Patty. And he lived on the southern Caribbean coast right near the Panama border. And the minute I saw him, like his deep wisdom, and I was like into reggae, so just to hear his good Jamaican. Oh, I have to tell you guys something about the Jamaican. So I'm sitting there and I meet Patty and I say, yes, this is the spot. And it was called Punta Mona, and we started bringing students down there like in '96 to show a different way to do things, like a physical way that we were building and farming and water systems and solar energy, and like on the physical level, but on kind of the spiritual and socioeconomic level, how can we create something that's really radical? And the goal would be that people would walk in and feel something as they walk through our portal. Has anybody been to Burning Man? The second you step through that gate after that long journey and you step through that gate, you feel something in your soul. Wow, I have arrived. I am here. And that's what we wanted. We wanted people to be just jolted by that love. And it's something that just threaded through everything. Every lunch and dinner, we hold hands around the food and connect, even just for a couple of minutes, like look around the circle. Anybody can make an announcement. But for community to thrive, it really feels crucial to integrate ritual. Ritual is so crucial. So one of our rituals was every day before lunch and dinner, not breakfast because people are grumpy, we would, how am I doing with time? Yeah. We would make a circle, and that's one ritual that we did that was really kind of glue for our community. Another ritual that we did was once a week we'd have sharing circles. Often during the week we'd have like logistical meetings about like things that have to get done. But once a week we would gather and do these sharing circles where everybody would go around and just share wherever they're at, and those were the kind of things that really make community work, is like being really intentional about your ritual. And you go to places like Bali, and it's like every day there's like some magical ritual. Oh, this town is, and they put offerings outside their homes every day. And so I just want to invite, like, if you're not sure what, you can even do that ritual, before the lunch dinner. Hold hands with whoever you're with, even if you're with like a business meeting or you're with people you don't think would really thrive or groove with it. It might be weird. Like, you'd be surprised how powerful that is, just to stop and breathe and transition. My partner Andrea back there, hi Andrea, right there. We led a cacao ceremony the other day, and there was like 400 people there, and it's become so cliche now, this word ceremony and blah blah blah, plant medicine. It's like, but what is ceremony? But it's transition from like mundane to sacred, and what's so amazing is that we decide when to do that. Like, if we want right now to be a sacred moment, raise your hand if you want right now to be a sacred moment. Oh my God, everybody. So let's do it. Like, let's just transition from like, okay, I was there at Envision just watching this guy, Stephen Brooks, give a talk, but like, let's just like really drop in right now with ourselves. Even close our eyes if you want. Just, where am I in my life? Where do I want to be in 6 months, or in a year, or in 5 years, or in 30 years? Where do I want to be living? What do we want our houses to look like? And which friends and family do we want living nearby? What's the commute like to your best friend's house? Things will just unfold randomly unless you get super intentional about what you want and how you want it to be and how you want it to feel and how you want to spend these sacred moments that we have here on this earth. let's really savor even this very sacred moment that we're sharing right now here at the Village Stage on Saturday morning at Envision. Let's drop in deep. Let's put on our scuba gear. So much gratitude for the ones back at home taking care of our chickens, or our kids, our homes, our houseplants. Let's really just give so much gratitude to our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents. All the miracles that it's taken to make you. So grateful. You see that? You see how easy? You guys feel that? Didn't that just feel deeply sacred? We just decided, okay, that was just one moment where I was just talking about stuff, the community, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden we were like all dropped in together collectively, like aligning. It felt so sweet. So after many years, I became obsessed with plants. I'm totally obsessed with plants. If you were to put a little title under my name, it would say ethnobotanist, which is the study of the relationship between humans and plants. I love that relationship. I think it is so fascinating. I think all of the answers to the world are being sung to us by the plants right now. We just have to listen. Like, we really just have to deeply remember to listen. We used to be able to listen to the plants. They used to guide us. They used to just exemplify unconditional love and kindness and care. So yeah, I got really into plants, and at Punta Mona we started teaching, and I got into permaculture in 1999, which is a ecological design philosophy coined by a guy named Bill Mollison and his student David Holmgren. And it was kind of this like macro systems thinking, like just to recreate human settlements. Like, what does that mean? Like, who actually creates human settlements? Like, how is this happening? How is this world unfolding? So after many years at Punta Mona with the plants and all the teaching, I said, this is really cool what's happening here, but it seems like it's more of a retreat center, like an education center. But I want to create a community. Like, I'm at the age where I want to start having kids. My parents are getting older. So I basically wrote down the criteria of what the dream community for me might look like. And I literally took out a pen and paper, and this is an exercise you could do. And I started writing down the criteria. And so first, I knew I wanted to be in Costa Rica, because I love it. Pura vida. Second, after living so far in Punta Mona, I said, you know what? I'd like to be a little closer to San Jose. And I wrote, I want to be less than 1 hour from the San Jose airport. And then I wrote down, I want to be somewhere between 400 and 800 meters above sea level. But every 100 meters you go up in the tropics, it's like 1 degree away from the equator. So if you're like 500 meters above sea level, it's like you start getting more temperate as you go up, and it's cooler. We're at the sea level here, that's why it's hot as F. But you get up a little bit, like I'm staying probably at 350 meters above here, and it's way cooler than down here. And so I that was part of the criteria, between 400 and 800 meters above sea level. And then I had gone to the rainbow gathering. Anybody ever been to a rainbow gathering? Was anyone at the rainbow gathering in Costa Rica in 2004 in San Vito? Anybody? No? It was unbelievable. There was like 4,000 people like on this epic river. And every day when I was there, I would go lay naked. Yeah, naked, on a big hot boulder in the sun. And I would just get all hot and crispy, and then I would roll into the crystal clear water and drink it. So you know what I did? I put that on my freaking criteria. I want to live next to a crystal clear river that I could dive into and drink the water. Put it on the criteria. And then I put on the criteria is that I want to find land that's already been deforested. It's already been cleared so that we can come in and regenerate it. A lot of foreigners come and gringos come down to Costa Rica and they look for land and they fall in love with some waterfall or some beautiful jungle tree and they buy it and like, oh yeah, we're gonna start a community here. Now, you can't, like, if you're gonna start a community, you're gonna have to clear all this forest. We can't do that anymore. Like, there's already enough land that's been deforested for cattle and agriculture that we can come back in and regenerate this land. So that was the criteria. And when you list your criteria, it's good to put little stars next to the ones that are non-negotiable. And or you could put next to them, yeah, I'm looking between 500 and 800 meters, but if it's 350 or if it's 1,025, like maybe it's okay. You know, so you want to be clear about your boundaries in your criteria. And so I did that, and I was one day at my dear friend Juan Pablo Barahona, who's teaching here, yoga teacher. I was at his mom's house, who just passed away. May she rest in peace. But I was at his mom's house, and there was a newspaper on the table, and it had an article in it, the 10 cleanest rivers in Costa Rica. And it had a map. And only 2 of them were anywhere near San Jose. And so I was sitting with my friend Christian Carranza, who makes the ginger beer that they sell over there. You should definitely try it. And we literally said, that's where we got to go, because the 2 rivers were right next to each other. That's where the property is. And our criteria was so clear that we were able to find it so easily. So the clearer you get with your criteria, the better chance you're going to find what you're seeking.